All right.
Okay.
Okay. So he um so they found that there was originally, and he already knew this kind of thing happened. So he they found that there was a deposit for the utility company, the the water and electric, right? And he showed so so there was a the deposit that had been long enough. They'd held it long enough. They didn't need to hold it anymore, and so he got the guy to sign that over, and there was enough money from the original deposit to cover the property tax.
All right.
All right, so he with that money he got the he got the property, no money down, and then he took that building. He had like a month to do all this stuff in, so he took that building and here we go. All right, he took that building and he
Was that him?
no, that's me.
Oh, okay.
That's me. Yeah, this is just a little history of me.
Where are you on the last one with all these other guys?
I'm on my knees. There's the two guys on the knees. I'm the one to the right.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so the okay, so this is I had been talking about this for a long time. These these a debt roll up strategy, and I learned about the
Mm-hmm.
pill method here for from this Don Daniel,
Mm-hmm.
and so using a debt roll up, you can pay it. This guy's got $338,400 mortgage at 5% interest. His principal interest payment is $1,816 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Total debt is $399,750, paying $2,782 a month. Okay, so using a debt roll up, he's get everything paid off in 17 and a half years. With $100 added to the payment of the smallest debt, just pay the bills on time. Pay that first debt off. You you move that payment up, that debt
Mm-hmm.
service amount. You add it to the payment of the next smallest debt, and just keep paying your bills on time.
Mm-hmm.
Then the pill method, in that payment, the $1,816 a month, in the first part of the amortization, that first month only $500 goes toward principal. But if you pay that $500 mid month, so your due date's on the first, you pay your 18. He pays his $1,816 on the first, and then pays another 500 on the 12th, 11 days after the due date. He'll eliminate over $1,300 in interest, paying that mortgage off in 15 years. But when you add that into the debt roll up strategy, now you've got everything paid off in 12 years. Okay.
Oh,
Saving
okay.
saving $606,253.44 in interest. Sounds really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I learned about this other strategy. Okay, so what this is what we focus on. Okay, there's three different buckets of money. There's the tax now bucket, the tax later or tax deferred bucket, and the tax never or tax advantage buckets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what we try to get people to do is stop putting money in those tax now buckets, but only as little as possible, and
Uh-huh.
reduce the amount of money you're putting in the tax deferred bucket. If you got a
Mm-hmm.
match, you want to meet the match. That's 100% return if they're matching your contribution, right? But don't put any more than the match. And everything you put into the tax advantage or tax never buckets, which would be a Roth IRA or cash value life insurance. Okay.
Okay.
We want you to have, reduce your debt, increase your savings so you have more savings and than you do in debt. And then we want your money to have this a little bit of the least amount of tax advantage or tax liability as possible. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, and this is how we do it. We do it with whole life. Right. And I
Yeah.
was always taught that whole life was bad. The fees were high, the didn't get a great rate of return. But what they didn't tell us was when you borrow money out of a cash value life insurance policy, you still get that guaranteed rate of return, whatever it is. In this case, it's 5.125%.
Uh-huh.
So we got this guy a policy, a $719,405 face amount with a rider of 450,000. So he's got a total coverage of it's $1,262,306 in total coverage. Okay.
Okay.
Right. The
And how much is that per month?
it's $2,573.90 a month.
Okay.
So what you do is the guy's his debt service amount is $2,782 a month, paying all of his debt. So he puts that into, he runs that through the insurance policy. So he pays his normal debt service plus his scheduled premium into the insurance contract. Okay.
Okay.
And then he borrows that $2,782 a month to pay his debts and his mortgage, just pays his bills on time. In 10 years, he's got enough money in that policy, $325,000, to pay off the remaining balance on that mortgage. So in 10 years, paying no more than he already was paying, he's got enough because he gets the money going into the policy is being saved for him.
Okay.
Okay, with the tax advantages. So he year 11 or it's year 10 actually. He borrows that money out of the policy and pays off his mortgage. Now he's paying himself back. All right. So now he's paying himself back. And then by year 20, where he still would have been paying another 10 years, he's got a mortgage paid off. He's had a mortgage paid off for 10 years, and he's got $488,227,000 in the policy with the tax advantages and the protection from the market volatility and the inflation. Okay. Okay, so that's a family banking strategy. All right. And so with that, okay, and so at age 73, he's got $1,009,367 saved. All right, to live on the rest of his life.
Okay.
Okay, so now let's look at how this works. So I found a property here in Houston that would have had the mortgage in line with what that scenario was, right? So is it the value of the property is $469,990, and it's got a balance of the mortgage is $338,400. The mortgage payment paying $2,782 a month at almost 7.5%, which is the rate right now on a 30-year fixed. Okay. You open up a policy, just like we talked about, in the previous scenarios, the identical scenario. paying that property off in 10 years, paying the same amount of money, his effective interest rate would be 3.45%. Even though the note rate is almost 7.5%. But the effective rate is 3.45. Okay. So now let's say you want to buy a 4-unit. So I found a 4-unit here in Cypress for $1,049,900 list price. Okay. So if you borrowed enough for the down payment, $262,474 from the property we just paid off. Okay. And you put it as a down payment on the fourplex. So now you got a mortgage on the fourplex is $787,425, right? And you do the same thing. You just run the payment through the policy. Okay. But you got rents. This property will rent out the $6,000 a month. Now you got an HOA. So your payment on the mortgage is $6,000 a month. The HOA is $1,300 a month, so you got a total of $7,300, $300 a month. Okay, but the market rents are $2,079 per unit. So your gross rent is $8,316. Your net cash flow is $1,016, but you got to pay the mortgage on the new mortgage on the primary residence. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you end up costing you, after you collect the rents, $821.50. But you were paying $2,782 a month. All right, you would have been paying for 20 years anyways. So you actually have reduced your payment to your monthly payment to $1,096.60, $1,960.50 a month. Or that's how much you've reduced it. Okay, so just for $821 a month, you can have both of these properties, right? In less than 10 years. So 20 years, you got both of these properties paid off. Okay. So you can do the same thing if you rent. You can open up a policy, run your rent through the policy, borrow the money out of the policy to pay your rent. And now that money that you would have just been paying in rent is accumulating for you in the policy.
Okay.
Okay, so during that time, we're helping you increase your FICO scores. And then if you're doing a rent to own, right? If you're doing a rent to own scenario, you find somebody that'll do that. When you do get your credit scores up and your cash flow and your reserves up so you can qualify for your own financing, it's a refinance instead of a purchase loan. So you don't have to bring in a down payment or none of that, right? You understand what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah. Because you're paying it under the insurance, right?
Well, you're paying your payment through the policy.
Through the policy.
So what you put in the policy grows for you. And then you borrow it out of the policy and you pay your rent. And you do it every month. So there's no interest accruing on the loan because you're paying it off every month because you're running it through the policy. But that money
is growing. Can pull from the policy every month.
Right.
Okay.
And so then the policy is growing on that money that you put in the policy, and then you borrow it out and you pay it back, and you borrow it out and you pay it back, right? And over less than 10 years, now you won't have what'll end up happening is you'll have enough to you'll have the equity in there as reserves, right? You wouldn't have, in 10 years, you wouldn't have the 20% down. Well, it depends. You may, it all depends. You have to do that. You have to look at it, at the situation. And so I offer this, Score Navigator, product. It's the guy that, Rusty Breezy. He was the guy that created the credit scoring system platform for the credit bureaus. He created a consumer platform. So just, one bureau, which would be TransUnion, it's less than $6 a month. And then, and you get like, limit of 25 items, a credit summary. So if you don't have, more than that, that's what makes sense. If you got more than that, then you would do the $39.95 a month. That's still just TransUnion, but for $49.95, you get all three bureaus. Okay. And then what I do, it has a credit score calculator. So let's say you want a 720 FICO score. It'll tell you exactly what you got to do to get a 720 FICO score. And then I've got, knowledge and background. I can accelerate that. I can actually make things happen quicker. Right. And then when we get your score up to where you want it to be, then we just have you go back to the $5.95 a month and just to manage your credit. Okay. But that's, through my website, mybusinessyyourbusiness.info. All right. Then there's NACA. Okay. So if you can show 2 years tax returns, they don't care what your credit looks like. They'll get you in a house, up a 4-unit. And they'll let you use the rents. You can live in one and use the rents from the other 3 units to qualify you. Okay.
And when you show those tax returns, what are they looking to see?
Your adjusted gross.
Your what?
Your adjusted gross income.
Oh, okay. That's all right.
Okay.
And what's too high and what's too low?
Well, I don't know. You get which there is no limit on how much is too high or too low. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. They're gonna, it's a first time buyer program. You have to call them up and schedule a consultation, and you have to get on their budget regime. Okay. That's the criteria. You have to get on their financial discipline protocols, right? But once you get in that mortgage, once you get that property, it's going to be like a point lower than the conforming loan rate, and you can get 100% on a 4-unit, live in one, rent the other 3 out, right? And then I'll help you pay that mortgage off in less than 10 years. Okay. Now, what I'm going to show you.
What I would do with that is go with that program and then go with the insurance policy. And the insurance policy would be, my staple for paying any expenses.
So I'm going to show you something here. All right. So I did this yesterday, right? I went on Zillow and I looked up properties. I looked up, okay, so I just did this quick for a guy. So he has a house. He's fixing it up. I think he inherited this house. Okay. And he's fixing it up. He's going to sell it. And then he's going to do the NACA program and get into a 4-unit property. And then he's going to take the money that he got from the sale of his house to buy some other investment property. Okay. But these are the tricks that I learned through going through the Robert Kiyosaki course, right? So, here we go. So I was going through the course, right? I did it multiple, like 5 times I've gone through that course, right? And at the end, there's 3 days. It's 3 days. And at the end of the third day, they do like a real life form of Monopoly. And what they do is they the morning they set up all the protocols. Okay, you gotta they give you these pretend money. They call it Boca bucks, right? And these Boca bucks that they give out, they the Boca bucks they give out are for things like, if you go on a break and you get a business card, you network while you run on the break. Okay,
Right.
you get points for that. If you sit in a different chair after the break, you get more points. Okay, if you participate with the instructor, in discussion, you get Boca bucks. Okay, and then you also get they give you tasks. Um, they give you like you got to bring in listings for sale by owners that you find. You bring in the paper and see whether there's listings in the paper for properties for sale. Okay, and you get points for that, right? And then so they're explaining that in the morning session. Then the afternoon session, they show all these properties that are insanely low prices. It's like crazy. How can these, you've never heard of, properties selling at these crazy low prices, right? And people get real excited about it, right? Well, the next day, not so many people come back. Okay, and then the next day, you go over your points. They team up. So some guys, people get to sell some of these properties that they got at that time. They were using Yahoo Finance or Yahoo Real Estate. Okay, finding these properties.
Yahoo Real Estate. I never heard of that.
Okay, well, now it's like you can't find Yahoo Real Estate anymore, but Zillow kind of took over. Okay.
Zillow. Okay. I know Zillow.
All right. So then, and then other people are buying them, right? And they're using these assets that for people that brought in their bank statements and their investment statements and their, they have equity in other properties or whatever. They're using this. It's all pretend. It's all just, but it's simulated. Okay. And then whoever at the end of then the third day in the morning, it's just a mad scramble. And whoever ends up with the most money and the most real estate wins the game. Okay. And that's when they spring on you the cost. So if you were with Robert Allen, it's going to be $36,000. But if you're that winner, you'd be stupid not to join because you would make crazy money because you have the process. You have a knack for it, right? If you were with Robert Kiyosaki, it's $3,500, and they'll get 10 people to do it. And all that fee is to pay for what it took to send their cadre to San Diego, rent a hotel, and do the course, right? That's basically their filter process, their recruiting process, right? So I'm like, how are they getting these properties so inexpensively?
Yeah, that's the key.
So I'm like going through, I'm trying to find listings. And I went on Yahoo Finance or Yahoo Real Estate, and I found for like $6,995, you could buy this awesome, big, beautiful house with an insane view of the San Diego Bay. And I'm like, what? How? So I called the guy. I called the agent. Well, what it was, they tried to sell that house and they couldn't sell it. So now they were using it as a weekly rental property. So some wealthy people coming into San Diego to watch the Super Bowl, or for any reason, they can lease that house for $6,995 a week.
Hmm.
Okay. And so
Mhm.
that's what was going on. All those properties that they were showing that got people salivating and excited about the process, those were all properties that they tried to sell, couldn't sell, and now they were doing rent. They that was their rental, the monthly rentals. They were just renting the properties. So those owners of those properties that tried to sell, couldn't sell, now they're renting those properties out. They're very amenable to approach for a for sale by owner arrangement.
Even though they're making a cash cow on the rental, why would they sell?
Well, they wanted to sell for whatever reason. They wanted the equity in that property.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so if you approach someone like that, so this is what's crazy, right? Here's what they do. They find those properties, they get it
Yeah.
under a lease option contract. So now
Yeah.
they're the tenant owner of that property. And then they go out and find somebody, a cash buyer, to buy that property at market value. So now so they negotiate as low as they can on the lease option purchase. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they find somebody that's going to pay the market value for it,
Okay.
and they pocket the difference.
Okay.
Okay. So that is how they do it. And things can escalate very quickly. Now, the lady that owns this house, the ministry house here, right? She's an East Indian. She was from Chicago. Her son moved here to Houston. He's in petroleum engineering, and he convinced his mother to sell her house, and she sold her house for $2 million. And then she came here to Houston and she bought two houses, one for her and one for her son. Okay. And she sat on the she paid like 200,000 a piece for them. So she had the rest of the money, 1.5 million, in a shoebox under her bed.
Really?
And her son's like, Ma, you can't do that. What if somebody breaks in the house and finds that money and steals it, right? Well, one of the neighbors got in trouble. They got in the default on their mortgage. And she offered to catch them up on their arrears, but they had to sign her on title and sign an agreement that if they did it happened again, they fell behind again, that she would the ownership would be signed over to her.
But you would take over the house, the
That's
ownership of the house.
that's correct.
Okay.
And that's what she did, and that happened. And so now that woman now gets on the county recorder website and finds properties that have a notice of default filed.
Ah.
And she approaches them and makes that agreement. Hey, I'll pay off your arrears, but I want to be named on title as a joint owner. And if you fall behind again, then the property will, then the property will become mine.
Does she allow them to stay there or no?
No. But
Doesn't.
she has other properties that she can rent them. But she owns a ton of properties here in Houston doing that. But that's what
And
she
they
does.
sign it over and then they go into arrears again, she owns the property and then she evicts them?
Yep. But
Wow.
they agree to it. All right. Now the smart way to do that is you hold the property in a trust and you become a beneficiary of the trust. And there's a trust agreement that if you fall behind, if the other tenant, the other beneficiary falls behind, then they have to sign the property over to her. Okay. And exit the trust. And that's a faster way and of getting them out of there. If you don't do that, then it can take a while. You know, they can homestead on you, right? They can just sit in the property. Okay.
So to put it in a trust, run that by me again, it's easier to
Evict
get them out of there?
Yeah.
Explain that again. Why is it easier?
Because it's in the trust agreement. So the beneficiaries agree that that's the protocol if they fall behind, if they fail to make the payment again.
It's in the trust agreement.
Right.
And that's different than having an agreement directly between her and them?
Yep.
That's
It's
more
very
better.
difficult to do because they can squat in the house.
Ah, okay.
And you got to get the sheriff's, you know, it's got to be like 60 or 90 days they have before the sheriff will come out and evict them.
I don't like evicting people though. People struggle a long time to get down payments and to pay.
I'm just telling you what's going on. And then when rates go up and
Well, see, I
economy
like the
starts.
4 family. I like the 3 or 4 family deal better than, what is it, NACIS? I like that a lot.
The NACA program, right?
That's something that I like. I could get my hand around that.
Well,
Because a lot of people
go
are,
onto my website.
Okay.
And there's the banner for NACA. You can click right through it and schedule an appointment with them.
Yeah, I like that better because that with the insurance policy is appealing to me. Because and what I would do with that is I would probably look for properties in the area of any university or like in the medical center, places where people are transient, right?
Well, like I said,
And
the trick is to get after it. You look in the paper, you look in the classified ads, you look for people's for sale by owner listings. Okay, you drive around the areas that um you have interest in, and you'll see for sale by owner signs.
well, I can use ChatGPT.
Those listings,
Mhm.
for the like on Zillow, you go and look for the lowest price listing, right?
Mhm.
And it's insanely low, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're like, there's no way. Well, come to find out, that's probably one they tried to sell, couldn't sell, and so that becomes what they list as their monthly payment to lease, and then you approach them to do a lease option purchase.
Okay.
Is that making sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But now I can't do that under the NACIS program, can I? A lease option purchase? I guess so.
Well, under the NACA program, they'll get you in a house. You'll have your own loan and you'll be financed, but you can buy other properties that way while you're in your 4 unit, having your 3 tenants basically paying your mortgage for you.
So my question is the NACIS, that's just a one-time deal?
That's the first time home buyer only, right?
Oh, okay. Now I got it. All right. That's okay. That works. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, this has been interesting. You did record this session, right?
Yeah, it's recorded. I'll send it to you.
So I may go back and look at the recording this weekend. All right.
All right.
Well,
I just gave you my knowledge on what I've seen people do. I had a guy when I was in the mortgage business.
Uh-huh.
I had somebody that they were a Marine. They weren't retired, but they were Marine. They had a job managing a company that did uniform services. They cleaned the uniforms and sold the uniforms and did the embroidery and all that, right? That was his job, and he found a 2-unit property in Logan, San Diego. So Logan's the barrio, that's the hood, and they had just ended redlining. It was right on the border of 2 zip codes, Logan and Golden Hill. Golden Hill was a nicer neighborhood. The Filipino agent and his brother, who was the contractor, bought the property, flipped it in less than 6 months, and now they were selling it for significantly more than they paid for it. Took me, I had a bunch of lenders. I was approved by like 70 different lenders. I found one lender that would give me the new value, and they would use the comps in the adjacent zip code. It had to go through like 8 appraisers before I found one appraiser that would give me the new value and use the comps in the adjacent zip code. It was an appraisal review for 8 days, but I funded that loan. Once that happened, that guy was part of a real estate investment group. People just started coming at me, okay? But people wanted me to cheat. They wanted me to, there were these 100% loan programs, owner occupied, and he referred me to a guy who was a pastor. And so I got him into a house, 100% financing, right? And then he comes back with like 3 months later, he wants to buy another house, 100% financing. I'm like, well, no, you can't do that. That's only for owner occupied. He goes, oh yeah, this is owner occupied. I'm like, well, what happened to the house I just sold you? Oh, I rented that. And I'm like, no, I don't believe you, and I'm not going to do that. And I come to find out that the clergy has the highest rate of fraud in real estate.
Who?
Clergy, pastors, and people in ministry.
People where?
People in ministry.
Oh my goodness! Why am I not surprised?
Right. So then this other guy from that real estate investment group that this guy was part of came to me, and he had already had 4 properties. He had the house he lived in, a 2-unit, and a 4-unit. Oh, he had 3 properties, right? And he wanted to buy this other house that was in the same neighborhood he was in. It was on a hill, so there was a little bit of a view, and it was yellow. I don't know why, but he wanted to buy that property, so he wanted to do 100% financing, and so he had to lease out the property he was living in to buy that one, and he did, right? So now he's got 4 properties, and I helped him buy in 14 months 14 properties, and we didn't have to lie on any of them. We borrowed from the other properties that he owned to make the down payments for the new properties he was going to buy. And he was the one guy that had the crystal ball. He sold the properties at the perfect time, paid off the 4-unit, the 2-unit, and the original house that he owned. They had him free and clear. He ended up pocketing like $2 million in equity. I teased him that he had a crystal ball. But out of like the 40 different real estate investors that I was working with, he was the only one that didn't lose everything. The rest of them all, when the market crashed, they all lost everything.
So my next question. Okay, go ahead. My next question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, he was the one guy that his timing was perfect. But that same guy had lost a whole bunch of money in like 92 in the .com bubble bust.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, same guy. He learned his lesson from that, I guess, right? So what's your question?
Let's just say Harris wins the election and she's able to implement this program for developing all this housing for people and giving people $50,000 for to buy a home. What would that look like if I wanted to get into the market then? Would I
Well, that's going to cause a major inflation in real estate values because people are going to. That's what causes those bubbles. Is
why would it
reason
cause bubbles for people to have a home, opportunity to get a home?
people can pay more than they would have normally paid, and those values are going to go up. It's all supply and demand. It's a law of supply and demand.
But she's talking about building new housing because the real estate, the what is it, the hedge funds and the equity groups, they have their grubby little hands on all of the housing that, you know, people want to purchase but can't afford to purchase because it's so expensive. And that's what's driving the rents up.
They can't build enough fast enough. They wouldn't be able to build enough fast enough.
No, that's not true. With today's technology,
and it's going to cause. It's going to. I mean, there's things that like you can do. Like I know there's a group I work with. They're out of Florida. They're a nonprofit, and they're big on using hemp-based materials. Like it'll lower the price of concrete. They call it hempcrete. Okay, so hemp becomes
I'm familiar with that.
An aggregate in the concrete, so it reduces the cost of the concrete. There's other things that they can do. They can't make anything that's a load bearing part of a house, but like the veneer, the siding, things like that, they can make out of.
No, Ruben, listen. 3D materials, 3D printing, you can use concrete. You can use the large 3D machines. The concrete is heavy, it's stable. You can have the frame of the house up in less than a week.
Oh, so I'm not doubting that. The problem becomes the cost of the materials are going to skyrocket because it's all supply and demand.
Why would the cost of materials skyrocket if you could create more, you know, if it's more demand for the materials, then that would be.
Listen to what you're saying. It's all supply and demand. The more of the materials that are in demand, the higher the price is going to go. And when you enable people by giving them more money, that's why the cost of health insurance is so high, or health coverage is so high, because of health insurance. Okay, they're gouging. I got my old business partner had a
it's the health agency, it's the insurance agencies who are gouging. That's who's gouging. And don't tell me about health insurance, because I have Medicare Advantage and I feel that it is the biggest scam I have ever experienced, the way the insurance agencies are gouging people and the money they take out of my check. The only thing that makes it halfway palatable is that you know, they give me like half of it back every month for groceries and vitamins and other stuff. But before that,
by giving out that
no
money,
insurance. Huh?
By offering that free money, okay.
It's not free money because I'm paying for it.
Well, I'm sorry, if the administration, if Harris gets in office and they start giving free money, you know, $50,000 for down payment assistance, right? Those properties, the asking price for real estate is going to go up and up and up.
Okay. Well, maybe not. Maybe there's an alternative for people who want to build affordable housing, for people to afford it, and use new technology to build that affordable housing. So then there's an opportunity for new manufacturers. See, I'm all about doing things.
Well, but then it becomes it's all the, I went through this all with these guys that are doing the hempcrete solutions, because that's going to reduce the cost of concrete. Concrete's going to go through the roof when they start building more, right? And that's going to
Concrete is
affect.
not the only, but it's not the only, you're functioning from an older paradigm. I'm saying that there's new technologies, the
Well,
3D printing.
yeah, but you're still using the same.
You don't have to. You don't have to use concrete. You can use other materials that are just as strong as concrete, and
Well,
you
I
have
don't
a
know what
different
those are.
process.
I don't know what those are. I've heard. I mean, I listened to this on with these guys talking about
So why,
the the hempcrete.
why would people, why, I don't understand morally and ethically, why would people oppose helping people, helping citizens buy homes? I don't understand that.
Well,
As
it's the way
Americans,
it's just the way it's gonna, because it's just gonna make it, it's gonna keep the prices up, going up and up and up and up, and it's gonna be, unless
the,
here's what's happening.
the prices are already high.
Yeah, I know. Here's what's happening. Why
Yeah, but
the
listen, and
with
you
the
also
well, hang on,
have,
hang on. Let me finish. Okay, what the Fed has been trying to do is create wage inflation. Okay, and when with wage inflation, okay, then what ends up happening is companies lay people off. They start trying to work more efficient. They start using AI, right? That by doing that, they cause they're, they're fighting wage inflation. Okay, when they start raising those interest rates, making the cost of money more. Okay, and so it's harder for them to get the money to pay. So they're going to cut the corners everywhere they can, and they're going to do that by laying off people. And the
and and so
people that
that
have the
means,
jobs, people that have the jobs are going to be doing more for less. Okay, that's what they're doing. That's what they were doing. That's what the Fed was doing by raising rates, trying to stem inflation. What he was trying to stem was wage inflation. Okay, and if we have their logic was,
but it's not working.
if that's right, the logic
Ruben,
was
wait.
the
The point is this.
the logic
The
was
system,
that
the
that
system that
so hang
you
on,
are
this is
talking about, the system that we have been living under only works for the privileged few. It doesn't work for the average working person
I'm not arguing with you there.
whose parents and
I'm not arguing
grandparents
with you there at all.
have
But
paid into
it's
this
what they're
system.
doing. That the Fed was trying to cause more layoffs, right? And so if we didn't have enough money, that he was trying to use, if we had less people working and had and or making less money, then the how prices of goods and services would have to come down,
Well,
right?
you're going to have that anyway because
Which
of
is
AI.
what was so stupid that they would think that way. That's how they would do
No,
it.
no.
The
Well, first
the
of all, the Fed is not our friend. So when you
that's
talk to me about the Fed,
we are not in disagreement there.
but what I'm saying is you're going to have that anyway because AI is going to move out a lot of jobs. So you're going to have
Well, I
people.
heard the same thing. I heard the same thing when I was in the drone business. I called Maricopa County, right? Because I was my main focus was the border security applications, right? And I talked to him about the drones, right? And he said, and the guy that was in charge of the aerial forces for Maricopa County was a helicopter pilot. And he's like, these drones are going to take over our jobs. So the guy that I got to talk to about buying drones is the guy that doesn't want us to buy drones because he doesn't want to lose his income from flying helicopters, right? And it just didn't make
Yeah, but that's drones. What we have now
yeah, but
is
it's the same. It's the same thing. It's
no, it's not. It's
there's
not because
with this
it's not the same
technology,
thing.
more people will be able to do more things that they could. I use AI all the time to get, if I'm writing up, I'm a lot of times I keep it up with the limits on 401k, IRAs, things like that. It's easy for me just to go ahead and ask uh, Meta AI, and it'll spit it out for me, and I just gotta put it in a PowerPoint, and I'll teach on it, right? I mean, that's how I'm using it, right? But it's not hurting me. It's AI is going to help small business owners. It's not going to help employees. It's actually going to be a detriment to employees, and you're saying that, okay? Have you ever been on the Jason Cisneros podcast on Saturday mornings?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so Jason talks about the the trend to small to mid-sized businesses, a one employee up to 499. That's the sweet spot, right? And there's a whole bunch of capital, private capital, that's out of the market. They're looking at the real estate market. They don't like it. They think it's going to crash. These property values keep going up and up and up, and there's going to be a crash. They're tentative to get into the market, right? Same thing with the stock market. The stock market bubble's way overdue to crash, right? So they're out of the market. They're looking for opportunity, right? And they'll make 4 to 6 times more money in small business, startup small businesses, but 99% of them fail. And that's what Jason pushes his system, right?
But you keep pushing this patriarchal bullshit system that has been in place for the last 100 years, where the folks at the top make all the money and make all the rules, and everybody else has to
I'm
follow
not
suit.
I'm not pushing that. I just know how it works.
Yeah,
I
but you
just
know
know
what?
what's
It's
going on.
time for it not to work anymore for the 1%. It's time for it to work for those of us who pay into it so that the 1% can live off our backs. And I see with the new technologies that there are opportunities to create a different paradigm.
Well,
So I'm not
we're
stuck.
not disagreeing, but
I'm not,
but
I'm saying that I am not stuck in the same old bullshit paradigm of the feds and the 1% making all the money and everybody else being a goddamn serf to the 1%, and they move around the money and you get the little trickle down crumbs and you don't get to own a house and all this bullshit, and the feds make, raise and lower the interest rates, and everybody jumps to the markets. We need a new paradigm because that paradigm is not working. It's not working for most of the working people. It's not working for
well,
even.
so what in 1996, that's when I got out of the military, and that was when there was the Northrop Grumman, or not Northrop, was it General Dynamics? General Dynamics collapsed, right? They aerospace giant, basically, downsized. And what
Yeah, I
happened was
remember General Dynamics.
all those people that worked for them started their own business doing the same thing they were doing. And now they were contracted to General Dynamics, but they weren't just contracted to General Dynamics. They contracted Northrop Grumman. They got contracted to all these different companies as a contractor, being their own business. They actually made more money doing it.
I
Okay.
know. I do. I know. I know. I won a defense contract in 2015. So I know.
Okay. So what so what Jason's pushing everybody to is becoming, start a business. All right. One employee to 499. That's the sweet spot. But create your business, because having a business like that is what all that private capital, the $150 trillion in private equity, is looking for a home, but they want, but only 1% of those businesses succeed. Okay, and you got to have a system. And then this whole idea of the synchronistic business strategies, where you have multiple businesses that support each other. I used to work for a guy who was a retired Army Ranger Colonel, Vietnam vet, had a PhD. He had his own university, Ceres University, a nationally accredited university. Its purpose was to do the continuing education for the food safety managers and the warehouse managers in the produce industry. but he was a part owner in AME Certified Labs. That's the guy that came up with the PCR system for NASA, right? And so they would set up these labs in the warehouses so they could do their own environmental testing for, the big one was listeria they were just testing for. They had consulting to help these people set their warehouses up to pass the Primus inspection. They actually had they partnered with Primus to do the inspections. He had 6 different companies all support, and I was his rep in the Rio Grande Valley. That's the first time I saw that in action, that synchronistic business strategy. So if you have a business mind, you got an opportunity. You owning businesses that supply your primary business or support your primary business, that's going to help you bring down prices, right? It's going to help you, can either offer your service for, more reasonable cost, be more competitive, or you get more profit. Okay, so these are all the things that
Yeah, I know that. I'm aware of that.
all these
So,
things, right? So my strategy, these strategies with the infinite banking and using the whole life policies,
mhm.
they actually help orchestrate those type of opportunities.
Well,
that's-
this is a brave new world we're living in now. We have AI, we have sentient AI, we have robotics, we have a lot of stuff going on, and we also need to focus, well, primarily need to focus on the environment. Texas is running out of water, according to the Attorney General. So some of the issues that should be in the news are not, like water insecurity and disaster resilience, and there's solutions for that. There are
that's really
ways to
interesting
approach it.
there too, right? Because there's
I gotta go though, Ruben, because I
so
have
do I.
another
So do I.
conference
So
coming.
I'll send you the recording. Let me go ahead and shut it off now. And
Okay, that sounds
and
good. I